What's going on, you motherfuckers? It's time for a no. What's going on, dickheads? It's your boy Do It Dan, back at it again for another video. Now, what I like to do is I like to use this as an introduction to like a new series I want to do. Not all of them are going to follow the same platform as this video, but more or less what I like to do is start talking about more and more gear and riding accessories and stuff like that that bikers can use. Not necessarily gear reviews or product reviews, but just talking about things here and there that might make riding more fucking dope. Whether it be reviews or just talking about a product or something that really helps in my day-to-day riding stuff, you know? I think I want to call it biker stuff. So I'm kicking this video off today talking about one of three things: Bluetooth headsets, my helmet setup, and the Moto Amino app. Whether you have an interest or a question, it's one of the best places for you to connect with other people who share this interest. It literally has a community for everything. I consult it a lot when I'm looking to build up the DRZ, or if I have questions about a specific brand, and that's that shit I do like. Everyone's got different experiences and they're always willing to help. Now they've recently added the live layer feature, which shows you how many people are online at any given time, which means that there's always something to do. There's always someone to connect and talk with and ask questions about. The members are passionate. It's a really big coming out app, and even has an avatar chat feature, which allows you to talk to other people. And if you want to remain anonymous, you can. You just use a 3D model and you can either create your own or use a pre-created one. If you want to talk to someone else around the world and use your avatar, you can. Don't just take my word for it. Use my link below to download it. Find me on there. Ad needs Do It Dan. Then yeah, that's simple. Now for the device. So I haven't done an updated video on like my helmet setup in quite some time. I think it's actually been like since like when I first started motovlogging. Even though that my setups have changed a little bit over time, I've never really made an update for them. And on top of that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk to you about the most important motorcycle accessory that I've ever had throughout the entire time that I've been riding. So I'm gonna go through an update of my setup and what I've done to make my setup better over time and stuff like that. If you're interested in doing this too, but primarily we're gonna focus on the #1 motorcycle accessory that I can recommend to anybody. I mean, besides a helmet, obviously. I mean this for any rider. Anybody who's been riding for a million years or they're first starting out on riding, the most important accessory that I've found when it comes to making riding the best experience possible for both you and your friends, or just in general. This is pretty simple. You see this little thing right here? You see this little thing right here? That's a Sena Bluetooth. Basically mounts on the inside of your helmet and allows you to Bluetooth to your phone or to your friends and talk and communicate. While I am going to talk about specifically this new Sena, this is the 30K, this is I think the newest one that they offer, I'm also going to talk about just Bluetooths in general. So first starting out, this is the Sena 30K. It's their newest and latest and greatest design that they say. This isn't a paid sponsor, they didn't pay me money to say anything, but I did ask them to send me out so I could review one. And I've had it for a couple of weeks now. I took it down for Bike Week to start using it to see how easy it would be to set it up in a new environment and test its long range stuff, because we got separated several times. And I wanted to do a long-term test to see how I liked it, because before this one I had the SMH10R. Very slim profile, it's about that long and about that flat. It mounts here, and it has an external battery pack that you mount somewhere else. I had mine mounted on the back of the helmet. And then it had a microphone that mounted inside like this one does, and then speakers that mount where the ears go in your helmet behind the padding. And I used that for 4 years, I think. 3 years, somewhere around there. And I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much that I didn't want to get rid of it. I figured the only way that I could be talked out of it would be to update to their newest and latest and greatest design. So I asked them to send me out one so I could do a review and install and test and whatnot. And I didn't do the install video because I'm still not totally sure on this setup yet. I'll go into that in a second. So yeah, I took it down to a Bike Weekend with Finn and I installed it and I tested it out to see how I liked it. I'll tell you why this is important. One, simply because it makes riding so much more fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love to just ride, but man, there's something about riding with music. It's like driving with a radio. I mean, imagine driving your favorite sports car, but you don't have a radio. It's kind of like, man, the experience is only 95% there. On top of that, you can still use Google Maps and whatnot. And like, let's say you put it on your phone and you can listen to Google Maps. That's important if you commute a lot or you don't know the layout of the land if you're in a new area like we were in Florida. And yeah, you know, any Bluetooth that you can connect to your phone can do that, obviously. It has voice commands as well. I don't like voice commands because I'm always talking and I set them off randomly on accident. It used to happen all the time with the SMH10 where I'd be talking and like I would accidentally call someone. They claim it has about a mile radius with the antenna up. You turn this little antenna up thing and you go like that. You go, yeah, and then the thing goes up. They say it has a mile radius between two of these, which I think is absolutely insane. Now, I didn't have another one to test that out, but I gave Finn my old SMH10R, and I think we got around half a mile away from each other and we were still connected. So that's pretty good shit. We would get separated constantly because of, you know, biker traffic and whatnot, and that was really nice to have this. I also didn't have to rely on hand signals either. If I want to stop at a gas station, I have to be like, oh, let's go to the gas station. I could just be like, hey, let's stop at this gas station here. That is also an incredibly important feature to have when you're on a motorcycle, especially if you're a new rider and you don't know what every fucking hand signal is. It's very convenient. And yeah, these are all cool perks and whatnot. The big thing for me is the music. As far as mounting it goes, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that thinks that the SMH10 was probably the best design they could have ever made, because the only difference between this one and that one, the 10R has a much smaller profile and it has 3 buttons versus a dial. I am not a huge fan of the dial option. This is how you turn up your music and turn it down. If you want to change songs, you have to press it down and then turn it in whatever direction, it'll change the music, and I don't really like that. It's a big button, right? But when you have gloves, you have no dexterity, so you can't really feel, it's awkward, you know? And this isn't downing this design. A lot of people prefer this design. As a matter of fact, I'm the only person that I've ever run into that absolutely loves my 10 over my 30. Maybe it's just because I spent so much time on the other one and I grew accustomed to it and I just have to learn how to adapt to this one. But the other one was a much smaller design. This one's obviously pretty big and bulky. The only downside is that it had an external battery which you had to mount somewhere else on the helmet. I always tucked mine back here directly over my DOT label because no one cares about that. I mean, it's Icon. And on the inside you pull back all the soft material and then you just basically Velcro on the speakers where your ears go behind your straps. As far as loudness goes, it gets pretty loud. The only bike that I can't hear it on is the Magna, but I've never been able to successfully, like I can hear some music on the Magna no matter how I'm doing it, even with earbuds, like the ones that you plug into your ears, even with those, it's hard to hear over the Magna. And on top of that, this is a benefit over headphones. You don't have to plug them in and then wrap your helmet around. I can't tell you how many times back in the day that I used to ride with earbuds in, and they would just like come out because of head vibrations or wind or something like that. One thing that I really do like about the 30 over the 10 is this, and I think they started implicating these later down the line, but you can just remove the whole unit and then charge it. So you don't have to have your helmet sitting somewhere charging. You can just pull this off and charge it, which is really convenient because with the 10, I'd always have to plug my helmet in near an outlet because it didn't remove itself. It was always fixed to the helmet. They also claim that this one is water resistant. I've had several rides in the rain with it. Everything looks nice and sealed here. I mean, every plug that they have is covered by a rubber grommet. My only gripe with this thing is kind of like the size and the placement, and maybe this is my own fault with the way I've got it placed. But you've got 2 mounts that you can use. You have the C-clamp looking thing that you wedge in between the styrofoam wall and the actual helmet wall itself, and then you kind of just tighten it down. That's how I have this one done. And it hangs down about 1 inch. It's harder to kind of like get your straps out to like put your helmet on. Also, sometimes when I look back or I'm doing a wheelie, my head rotates and my shoulder will hit this wheel or click it down. That'll either pause the music or it'll try to connect to another Bluetooth device or it'll turn the volume down. It gets kind of old doing that. During most riding, I don't have any issue, but whenever I'm doing like wheelie practice or something like that, it happens like every other time, so it's like my music's constantly starting and stopping. But the reason I asked Sena to send me out one of these and not some other company is because I've grown to really like the Sena brand. And I have used a couple other brands besides Sena. I have like the Hawk or the VCAN. I think it's the BS2, the BTS2, a handful of like super generic, cheap, like $40 and $50 ones, and the Scala, which is like, they offer some built-in ones and then you can get the kits and whatnot. And consistently, I've had issues with those in the past. And the Sena's always proved to have the longest range and the best battery life, but you certainly pay for that. They're, I think, the most expensive one that you can buy. One of these runs like $200+, which if you think about it, that's not cheap at all, right? Because the cost of this helmet's like $300 or $400, right? There's a lot of people out there running around with like $100 or $200 helmets with like $500 or $600 electronics strapped to it, which is a weird concept. But it certainly is the best of the best, and that's why I always recommend this. And I feel like a lot of people know that these Bluetooth headsets exist, but to like not to what extent and how much easier it makes your life. It's just like one of those things where you think about, you're like, yeah, well, I mean, that's cool or whatever. I just continue using my headphones. And then once you use one, you're like, this is significantly better. You don't have to do any cords, anything like that. It's all wireless. You can interact with your phone on it. I mean, it's just the absolute best. If you set it up right, like I had with the SMH10, you can just say, hey Google, take me to, and then it will bring you to that location. You can do that in traffic. You don't have to like take your phone out or anything like that. You can communicate. You can even text through it, just being like, hey Google, text Laura to do this, and then it'll do it, and you don't have to worry about it. Obviously, I've linked it below if you guys want to check it out. Feel free. It's a really cool product. Alright guys, that's it for me. I will see you guys in the next video. So if you could do me a favor and get the fuck out of my room. No, like now.